So we are going to rock with the lazy way to selling more homes. I am grateful to be here today. Wesley from from LinkU. He is
How
a
you
wealth.
doing?
A good man. I was just saying before we hit the record button, this man is a wealth of marketing and real estate knowledge. Like really, truly, you are. You have so much knowledge. And when I saw this topic, which said the lazy way to sell more houses, like you're speaking my language.
All right. Well, I think I'm speaking a lot of people's language, right? It's like, how do I make this easier? This is too hard.
I got it right here. Look.
There you
So you
go.
just
He's got the
hit the
easy
easy button,
button,
right?
right? Nice. Yeah, I mean, look, the topic, the lazy way to selling homes. I feel like this is something a lot of people might be attracted to, and some people who might not be attracted to it are probably thinking, I'm not lazy. I want to work as hard as possible to do what I'm doing, right? And it's not always about the lazy meaning anything bad. It's more about how do you, if you think of it from a lazy perspective, there's like this quote actually that I don't know if he actually said it or not, but there's a quote basically says Bill Gates said this. He says when he wants to do something right or whatever, he looks for like the laziest person because he'll find the easiest way to do it, something along those lines. And it's kind of true because I consider myself a very hard worker. It actually might be to my detriment, right? So work very hard. I want to learn how to do everything. I want to know how to do everything. And, that's just how I've been. And one of the things that I came to understand, it wasn't until years after working in my business that I understood. I was like, oh, you know what? I have like that blue collar, get your hands dirty, kind of mindset. And I feel like I did come from a family who works hard and has a very um, great work ethic. But there's points where you start thinking where that can actually trap you, where you have like this really crazy work ethic. So you want to do everything, you want to work, you want to get your hands dirty, all that stuff. It's actually somewhat side story, but kind of ties into this whole thought process is my son, I have a hard time getting him to do chores around the house. Very hard time, get chores around the house, he's supposed to wipe down the oven and all this kind of, do his
How
laundry,
old's your
stuff like
son?
that. He's 13.
Okay.
And he's going to be 14 in a couple months. But the thing is, I can't get him to do anything. So he's like, what he'll do is they'll make money doing like earning points, watching their little brother, stuff like that. He'll take those, pay his sister to organize his room because he doesn't want to do it. Things like that. And I'm like, dude, what's going on with your laundry? You can do it? He's like, can't I just have somebody do this for me? So I'm thinking, well, I'm in this spot where I'm like, look, like I'm thinking, look, when I was young, I was mowing lawns, I was doing this, I was doing that, I was like younger than you. I was like 4 years old. No, I'm just kidding. But right, that's the idea. Those comedies, right? I walked to school uphill.
Uphill both ways.
I really did have to walk to school walk back from school uphill. But yeah, then you had the both ways and the snow and the hail and the rain and all these different things. And so it is definitely a different mentality. But at the same time, I had this thought like, wait, well, like, what's the right thing to do here? Like, do I tell him, no, you need to learn how to work hard, do the work, this and that? Or should I be teaching him how to leverage money and time as of, well, I mean, I guess if you don't want to do it, if you can make enough money, you could pay someone to do the stuff you don't want to do so you can spend more time doing things you do want to do. And so I'm thinking, what an interesting revelation is I want to teach my son to be a hard worker and have great work ethic. And I think a lot of us find this in ourselves. Don't we find ourselves, we maybe are hard workers and have great work ethic, except in things we just don't really like to do or want to do. Right? I'm a very hard worker, but I don't like to do laundry. Right? And so I thought, what an interesting teaching moment here. I guess, should I be teaching him how to do that or leverage the time? And I thought, well, he has a great point. If he doesn't like to do it and he's willing to spend and do other things or make money other ways to use his allowance, essentially. I have this laundry service that I use it for me because I don't do my laundry. My wife's busy, so I don't like, hey, honey, you do it. She's like, she has enough stuff on her plate, right? So, and then before that, we actually had somebody working here, but then COVID happened, right? And they would do laundry, dishes, all this kind of stuff. And that's another story for another time. But basically, he's like, okay, I'll give you, or you can use my allowance towards that. And I said, okay, like, am I being too easy or should I force him to do his laundry? So when we have this work mindset, when we have this mindset that we need to be doing it, I think a lot of times also what happens is when you don't do it, you feel guilt. Like, you feel guilty sometimes, like, oh, I should just do this, or I should just be doing it, or things like that. And so we tend to want to get into everything. I know there's a lot of people trying to learn. I got to do these Facebook ads. I got to do the flyers. They're literally designing the flyers themselves and doing all these other tasks and these are $5 an hour tasks. These are, well, not anymore $5. Well, they can be $5 an hour, right? With the VAs and stuff. They're $15 an hour tasks, maybe some $20 an hour tasks mixed in with a little bit of their actual $500 an hour tasks, right? Which is negotiating the contract and stuff like that. And so I think, like, what I realize is this comes from back when, being that work ethic, the mindset and everything. So coming back to the laziness part, is there are lazy parts of me. And so I do think, like, okay, how do I do this easier? Now, even though I think I'm doing it easier, there's multiple layers of easy. And a lot of times we only pull back like one layer of the onion of the easiness. And what I'm going to talk about today is I'm going to give you some things that you can do to peel that onion a little further, right? So you can eliminate a lot of the hard things, or at least identify, like, wow, I am really making this whole thing so much more complicated and harder than it needs to be. And that's what I find a lot of agents and ourselves do.
I'm excited for that. And every time you say the word lazy, by the way, I think of a business partner I once had who I used to refer to him as strategically efficient, which was the really nice way of saying lazy, right? He's just really strategically efficient.
There you go. Strategically efficient, giving them time to do the things they want to do. Now, look, I've been part of this. There was this one interview I listened to from Tony Robbins and Dean Jackson. Dean Jackson, I know, some people know him, especially in the real estate industry, because he had a real estate brokerage or something. And I was listening to his interview, and they're talking about, like, he's just talking about, like, I don't have an alarm clock. I wake up whenever I want. I work like when I feel like it, and all these different things, going through his lifestyle. And I'm thinking, this guy, I'm driving to work, and I'm thinking, this guy's so lazy. Like, I'll never be like that. I'm never gonna be like that. That guy, I just can't even imagine, right? So he's going through this whole thing, the whole interview, and why he lives this way and all these things. So I won't spend too much time there, but basically I just remember having this thought that guy's lazy and I don't want to be that way. And I think there's some people here feeling that way. Like, a lot of those people didn't show up because they're like, the lazy way to sell homes. I'm not lazy. I'm not showing up to that. Right. But some of you might be, I'm interested. What does that mean? Right. Well, funny thing is we go through different stages in our lives. And some of you, depending what stage you're at right now, you may think, oh, that sounds lazy, just like I did with that interview. But it's funny, like a couple of years later, I listened to that same interview on the way home from work. And then I thought, wow,
This man is brilliant.
This man is brilliant. I thought, oh my goodness. It's not that he's lazy. It's just there was this breakthrough I had. And the breakthrough was, I'm never going to be done. I have this mentality to work hard and always be innovating and growing, and I'm never going to be done. So if I'm never going to be done, he had this saying like, oh, I don't want to own all the land. I just want to own the land next to mine. And it's like, that's basically what we're doing. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing I'll say for another topic as far as like life in general. But the point was, I realized it's not that he's lazy. It's just he had a different meaning of what he wants, what success is in life. And so again, that's another topic. But he also found ways to do these things, accomplish what he wanted a lot quicker, a lot easier, and less complicated, so that he can actually still live a very quality life. And more likely, I would bet he makes a lot more money than I do. And he does a lot less work. So who here wants to make a lot more money with a lot less work? Right? Does anyone want to like, no, I want to work really hard and make the same, or I want to work really hard and make less, or I want to work really hard and make more, which people are willing to do. But when you see someone else working less, or it seems like it's easier for them, isn't that kind of like, man, like, what are they doing? Kind of makes you a little jealous. And in some ways, selling, what you're selling, 30, 40 homes, it's like the same work if you're selling 10 homes or 5 homes. You're just spending your time in different places. A lot of times you're spending your time doing this, trying to find a home to sell, right? Instead of just selling the homes. So it kind of is this easy versus hard. Easy is some of the things I'm going to share you, and hard are things like, well, I guess I'll go into an example. Some people come to me, they say, look, I'll go through this whole thing about some of the strategies and whatnot. They'll say, well, what about expired listings? This is an example. Yeah, expired listings are great. This is great. But is it easy or is that hard? Farming or going door to door, door knocking, is that easy or is that hard? I mean, expired listings, they're nice, and there's definitely strategy there, but it's still cold calling. There's a lot of people, and whether it be expired listings or other types of lists, there's a lot of lists that are cold calling, and there's a place for that. But a lot of times what I see is some people are going there first, and they haven't done like, let's just say there's a list of, I don't know, I'll just say 10 things you could do to grow your real estate business. And let's say selling expired listings is like number 8. I don't know. And you're trying to do number 8, but you never did number 1, 2, or 3. And that's the way I look at it. So I'm not saying it's wrong or bad or anything. I'm just saying you're making it harder because you're trying to go sell expired, do cold calling. And that's cold, right? So if you're not familiar with the term cold versus warm and all that kind of stuff, it's kind of a marketing thing, where cold is generally people who have no idea who the heck you are. There's where the term cold calling comes from, right? As opposed to calling people who have already purchased with you or done business with you, or even filled out a form on your website or some lead that they filled out specifically. And that would be more warm because they took an action. So which one do you think is easier versus harder?
I'm going to go warm, Wesley.
Right. All right. Right. So warm is going to be easier than cold. There's also some other things when we have, I'll say, proven versus unproven. So a lot of times I see agents trying to come up with new things and innovative ways to do stuff, which is completely fine. I like it in certain areas. In certain places where I'm not so sure. Again, this goes to the 1 through 10 analogy, is if you want to do something creative and something crazy, just saying, maybe you should have your survival covered, have your 1, 2, and 3 covered before you go moving into number 11, which is innovative and crazy because it's not on the list of proven things. So you've got proven things. These are things that people are doing and not everyone's doing. I'm going to clarify. Oh, everyone's doing that. No, trust me, they're not. The proven things are things the successful agents are doing. Not everybody. So that might be working their database. That might be following up. That might be generating leads on Facebook. That might be generating leads wherever, right? There's just a multiple of things that they could be doing that are proven. And what I see sometimes a lot of people want to do is they want to think of some kind of how do I shortcut this? And that's fine. I'm all good for shortcuts, but not out of order, not out of order. So you think about, well, let's put it this way. What's the number one way to get attention from potential buyers and sellers? Like an ad. I wonder if anyone knows this. It's like the number one way to get the right people in your, the right target market, buyers and sellers, to engage.
Something for both buyers and sellers?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Type in the box, guys, if you got a guess.
Yeah, we're good at a dun, dun, dun. Sometimes we need some sound effect. All right, so the answer are listings. And some of you are like, what? Well, I always say case in point, Zillow. Case in point, right? What's on Zillow's homepage?
Listings.
Right. And what's been on their homepage since they started?
Listings.
Right. And before Zillow, what was on people's homepages for real estate?
Listings.
Exactly. So when you go to Zillow, there's not like a directory of agents to choose from, like hot or not, slide, I'll use this agent, not, right? That's not how it works. That's how it is for the listings. So listings are the number one way to get people. A lot of times people think, oh, that's just buyers. And they're like, I want this way to get sellers. Okay. Well, listings, sellers, before they list, usually want to find a place to live. And I think a lot of you guys have find that true now, right? Because what's one of the biggest problems you have right now in the market? My seller doesn't want to sell because they have nowhere to move. So what does that make them? Buyer. And where would they normally have started? Well, guess what? They started by looking for homes, and their rebuttal to you was, I can't find a home to live in, so I don't want to sell. So where do we come back to? Listings, right? So I bring that into focus because a lot of people, there's listings, this is the way to do it, but a lot of people don't do that right. I'm not going to get into a lot, but the point is, it's a proven way to generate leads. Proven versus unproven. An unproven way might be, hey, I had this idea. What if I create an ad about this thing, and then maybe I let them use a truck to move, and like this whole elaborate scheme. And I'm thinking, it could work. I'm not saying it can't. I don't know how much money it's going to take for you to figure it out, but I would go with listings because it's proven. And yeah, other people are doing it, but not everyone's doing it. There's people doing it right. There's people doing it wrong. I would just do that right. What do you think? That's easier, right? So again, doesn't have to be as complicated. Now, that's what I mean by proven versus unproven. There's all these things that you could be doing. Some of them are proven already by successful people, and that's what I mean. Successful agents, some of it's unproven. Then there's this next one, and it's connections and relationships. Connections and relationships, this is one where I think a lot of people struggle, but again, can make it easy. Because remember that cold, warm thing? Well, connections, relationships, that if you never had to necessarily work with cold, like who here wants to work with cold? Like if you had a choice, not because you had to, but if you had a choice that you would prefer to do like cold calls to expired listings versus have warm people who already know you. A lot of you would probably raise your hand and say, I don't want to work with cold. Yet, at the same time, you also don't want to call your database and you'd rather work with cold. So it's kind of a mixed messaging. Well, anyway, maybe this will throw some insight on there. So talking about listings, I'll use this as an example. We know that listings, according to NAR, come from 66% of all listings come from a referral, pretty much a neighbor, a friend, repeat, something like that, right? And these people should be either in your sphere, in your phone book, or in your database, right? So the 66% of listings come there. A good percentage, the other percentage of listings come from the example I gave previously, which are listings. And then there's the other ones that, they're different circumstances. Fills the remainder of the percentage. So with that in mind, back to the connections relationships, you'd want to work with the warmest people. So how do you do that? Well, the easiest way is if you have people in your sphere who just refer you people. So honestly, like if I was in your shoes, I would, as a strategic and fun thing to do, I would definitely join a club. Now, this is a way to have fun and get sales all year long. So some kind of club, it could be, you could coach your daughter or son's little league or some kind of thing, or you could join a school board, or who knows, just something where you're in the community, where maybe you're giving back, or you're helping, or with children, whatever. There's a multiple of things. It could be even just your church, being more involved in your church. Some of you guys are like, oh, I wish I could be more involved in my church, but I've got to go make these cold calls. Oh, I wish I can do this more, but I've got to go get business. And you're missing the whole opportunity in front of you that a lot of agents with a very strong sphere get tons of business for it. I remember a woman telling a story about, she had a volunteer. She wanted to help elderly people. So she actually but she volunteered at a retirement facility, something like that. And she would just volunteer. Like, I think she would like read stories and do this and do that. And all. She was just known in the area, right? Or in that community. But from there, she also happened to get a lot of business from there. They would, even because they moved into the retirement home, the assisted living, whatever, they'd want to sell the original home, or in the sad circumstances that someone passed away at some point. Again, these are all different circumstances. And she was there because she wanted to be a friend. She wanted to give back to the senior community and elderly and so forth and so on. But it was about finding time to do that. Well, she did that, and then it just happened to that, oh, wow, this is a great place to get business too, not even really doing it on purpose, right? So that's something I see a lot in these community groups, but you have to be good at the relationships. Then that's just one example. Another one is just, again, we're talking about easy and lazy. Wouldn't it be easier, funner, more enjoyable just to have relationships and talk and connect with some of your past clients, some of the vendors, some of the people you work with, just in general? Like, imagine you're doing that all day, or for the majority of your day, where you could be doing anything. You'd be sitting in your pool, you could be relaxing, you could be doing whatever, having these conversations. And having these connections, conversations, these people your relationships become stronger. And so those referrals start coming in more often, right? Because you're more top of mind, you're actually building relationships. And as you're connecting with others, this is a lot of things I think people miss. When you're connecting with your database, even if you have a somewhat smaller database, like 200, 150 people, whatever, you're getting to know, oh, Larry's chiropractor and this and that. And this person, Jeff, is in need of a chiropractor, or in need of this person, or in need of that person. And then you start connecting. Yeah, you start kind of creating this network effect where you start connecting people. And what do you think happens when you start connecting people? Well, they want to connect you, right? So now they say, well, I have an agent. And it doesn't become like, oh yeah, I know this agent, he can maybe help. It becomes more like, you have to use this agent. You have to use Mary. You have to use John. You have to use Jesse, right? You have to, like, it's not just a passive referral. It's you must use this person, because they've got to, don't you want to do that when you're really intimate about a product or a brand or a person or something? Don't you go about the referral a lot differently when you're so excited about it and you have a relationship with that person? Absolutely. And so that's kind of the idea. And how much time do we spend on relationships? Calling past clients, your database, your SOI. very little, right? We want to spend more time calling expireds. We want to spend more time fiddling around with some Instagram plan or some, who knows, unproven strategy and a bunch of different shiny objects, which is frustration, stress, hard work, unnecessary. And and really what it comes down to, and this is something I realized, the more closer I've worked with agents, the more closer I've got to be more involved in their, just really anything, everything. I realized, like, wow, okay, like, you're making this way harder than it needs to be. Like, you're trying to do like 20 different things here. You're like, oh yeah, I gotta get my social media. I gotta do, and they're trying to do all the social media stuff, half-assed, by the way. Then you're like, oh, and I got to do this thing. So, like, send out some postcard to a farm area like once because you got busy to even do it, remember to do it the second time. Then, like, you're like, oh, I got to send out these cards. And then you send out like a few of those. And then you're like, maybe it's to some past clients or something, maybe once. So like your clients, I don't know, I know some of your clients get like a birthday card, like one year, but like not the next. And then maybe another random year. And they're like, what is going on? Okay. Not like every year, unless it's some automated, generic thing. Right. And so there's all these inconsistencies because you're trying to do 10, 20, 25 things. I don't know, 6 things, 8 things. And so you can't be consistent because there's too many. Then you get a sale, or you get someone you're working with, or you get a listing. And then you're just kind of like making sure that doesn't break because you worked so hard to get it, which means all the other stuff falls apart because it's not happening anymore. And then once that thing kind of closes, okay, I'm going to get a check from this. Then you should, well, shit, I need another house. So now you go back to work, or I need another 2 houses or 3 houses, whatever. Then you got to go back to build your pipeline. And so you get on that roller coaster income, basically. Does that sound lazy, or does that sound like a lot of hard work? That sounds like a lot of hard work. So here's what I imagine. Instead of focusing on 20 things or 100 things or 12 things, just pick 3 things. 3 things that you could just do really well at. It could be relationships. I really highly recommend you put that towards the top, right? Your warm lists, that kind of stuff. And if you do some lead gen, great. That could be one thing too. But I'll remind you that lead gen really should be reserved for growth and filling your pipeline initially. It should not be, if you've been doing lead gen for 3, 4, 5 years and you need lead gen in order to survive your real estate business, then something's broken. Usually indicates your relationships and your connections, your follow-up essentially is broken. Because if you've been doing it that long, your follow-up should be selling everything, and that's, here's the other thing. The caveat there is like, yeah, I'm doing this and I sell about, let's just say 15, 16, 18 homes every year on lead gen. And I say, well, that's broken because you're trying to grow, right? Yeah. Well, how are you going to grow if you're just relying on lead? I'll get more leads. Okay. But what about all the people you already sold the last 3 years? Like, what's going on there? So this should be stacking and compounding every year, not staying the same. What do you think about that, Jesse?
I think you're spot on. And I think most people listening probably would have trouble saying that it is stacking and growing year after year, right? It's what I'm trying to rack through my brain is, this is a whole separate webinar, is why do us as agents spend so much time? Because you're so right? Why do we spend so much time on the figuring out the Instagram post ad, whatever, this, that, and yet these simple things we're not doing? What do you think it is? Or is that a separate webinar?
No, it's a great question. So I think what it is like, for example, if you are doing leads and stuff, some of the things that you're trying to do, they don't know how to do it. So I call lead gen a game. It's a lead gen game. And the way I like to kind of talk about it is, if you don't know how to play the game, you're going to lose. So if you tried to play Monopoly, you didn't know any of the rules, how would you do? Probably pretty poorly. And how long do you think it would take until you went bankrupt, meaning you spent all the money that they gave you, or you just gave up? Probably a couple turns around the board, and you're like, I don't know what's going
then
on
you're
here.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. And, so you'd stop because you didn't know how to play it. And that's what I say is one thing, just one thing. One reason is people don't know how to play the game, and they don't actually know which step they should be working on next. No one's really told them. They get some pieces from like webinars and trainings, but they're not really sure what order. Then there's shiny objects, right? So some of the stuff, when like there's a lot of great ideas on LabCoat, for example, but LabCoat is meant to give you options and education, but it's not meant for you to necessarily try and do every single one. And I think some people misconstrue that into, oh, I need to be doing this. I need to be doing this. I need to be doing this. No, it's usually the people that come on, like the thing they're teaching about is like the one thing that they mostly do. Like they're not doing everything. They're just doing, one or two things. And the one
At
they
a
teach
really
you
high
is the
level.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They picked
exactly.
one and mastered it.
Right. The other thing too is, so that comes down to probably lack of clarity, I think, in the end. Lack of clarity, not really clear in what they want to be doing or where they're going. What should they be doing? Is this the right way? And a lot of agents are going on their own, really. You don't really have the hand holding or some will have coaches and stuff, but then you have the execution. So that's part of it. Then it's like lack of execution. So, okay, you got the plan, you know what you need to be doing, but now executing it is a whole different story, right? And then you have technology. A lot of the stuff's technical now. And so that's a holdback. So people get, tech, I don't know. So then they revert to trying to find something else. Well, I could pick up the phone. I know how to pick up a phone and dial people on a list, hence back to expired listings. Right. And then with the past clients and stuff, sometimes it's just fear. Like, what do I say? I was talking to someone the other day. Their biggest thing is, I just don't, because I don't want them to feel like I'm selling them something. Like, how do I have that call, make it worth it for both sides? Like, how do I deliver to the relationship? And so there's that thing too. It's just not sure what to say. So there's multiple reasons why people don't execute these things. And one other thing too is the one-to-many versus one-to-one. So what do I mean by that? Well, this is, again, another way to make it easier for you. You should definitely have relationships with people who are constantly in front of, or could refer you to multiple people. So when you're talking about past clients and stuff like that, that's more one-to-one. Like they kind of have multiple people, but they're not necessarily always talking. That's not like their job to be in front of people necessarily. As opposed to, I'll just say, like, obviously, like if you have a really good, and a lot of you do, right? So it's a good example. If you have a great relationship with a loan officer, they're in touch with people all the time. So they're always able to send you people. Right? Or vice versa, definitely the other way around, for sure. Agents are definitely sending a bunch of deals to loan officers, but kind of the same idea. So what if there's like a handyman or a contractor or a roofer or I don't know, there's all these different types of people that were constantly working with people in your area, right? They were talking with homeowners all the time because that was their job, that was their business. Having a relationship with that person is one-to-many, is one way, right? How do you get multiple people, multiple referrals coming to you? By having one relationship. That's why I look at it. What is one relationship that you can have? So you got to think about your database and who you know, but what's one person that in there that you could have that could be the gateway to multiple transactions a year? So some people I've seen could get 5, 6, 7, 8 transactions from one source like this. And some people are doing 8 transactions all total. And so that's it. You just stack these little things on top of each other. You don't have to do them all, but they all actually tie into each other. So they're not actually like you're doing 5 or 6 different things. You're actually really just doing a couple things still, right? It's follow up, things like that. So from there, I want to, I saw the link. Yeah, the link, the first one's wrong. It's got to go to the second one. just so you guys know what that is, that link is basically a program we have that we kind of take you through the steps if that's something you're interested in. I'll talk about more later. If anyone wants to stick around and hear more about it, we can do that. But anyway, it comes down to this. Most of the stuff that you're doing, right? Like if you guys familiar with, you know, the 80-20 rule, I assume, Jesse, and I know some people may or may not be. So the 80-20 rule is basically states in general that 20% of your efforts are going to give you 80% of the results, right? And the 80 rule doesn't necessarily mean 20%. It could be 99.1, but it could be 90% versus 10%, but typically it doesn't go further than the 80%. So that's when you say, how many agents make the majority of the commissions or the income in the real estate industry, right? It's like a small percentage. It's like the top 5% or something. And that could be said for how many students have the good grades, and all these different things. I count for all this taxes, all these different things, and all these different levels, right? 80-20. And so this is the same idea. When you look at the things you're doing, you probably can look and say, you know, if I really looked at it, just these few things I'm doing are accounting for 80% of my results. So why am I even doing all the rest of this other stuff? A lot of times we chase, well, how do I make everything? Everything. Now it's 80-20, it's just 100%. Yeah, there's always going to be levels and layers of that. You can always get better, but typically it's still going to always work out the same, right? So when you think about the results you're trying to get, the results are directly, and I think I saw this in the book, The One Thing. Yeah, it's a pretty good book. I think from, was it Gary Keller or something like that?
Yeah, Jay
right?
Papasan, Gary Keller.
Yeah, and that was a kind of a book that kind of goes and says, look, don't try and do all these things, you know, focus on the one thing and all that. And so your results are actually determined by how narrow you can make your focus, not how wide you can make your focus. And a lot of us, I think, try and make our focus too wide, trying to capture too many things. And instead, you need to be narrowing in your focus on just a few things and just get those couple things right. And then everything else doesn't even matter. I've worked with agents who they're just really good at relationships, really great at the follow-up. They don't have huge databases, but they sell 30, 40, 50 homes a year. And that's it. They're not trying to grow big teams or anything. They are more interested in freedom than they are the growth. But it depends. Everyone has their own wants. If you want, there is some freedom that comes with growth in the team, or, you know, having a partner or things like that. So those are your life choices or your business choices. So what's the one thing that you can do, right, where everything else becomes easier and unnecessary? And it's not something you can like just think about like, oh, okay, it's this. You got to peel that layer again, because usually your first answer is not deep enough. I recommend you go 3, 4, 5 layers deeper of why. Well, why do I have to do that? Or why does it have to be this way? And then break, well, because this and that. Yeah, but why does that have to be, you know, and you just keep going deeper and deeper on that onion, right? Peeling the onion basically. And you're going to be a much better place as far as your solution that you come up with. Because too many times when I go through an exercise with someone, say, what's something you don't have to do? Or something you pull, oh, I get, and they peel off something, but it's very superficial. It's very not going to make a big difference. And that's why I say you got to go peel it. You got to go deeper than that. Questions? I'm not necessarily done, but, you know, figure we'd take a little break here.
I don't see any questions in the chat box yet. I'm keeping an eye on it. I will jump over to Facebook, see if there's any questions there, but
Sure.
I mean, it's making sense. So what should agents do?
So basically, here's what it comes down to. For me, it comes down to, it depends on the size of your database, right? You might, like if you have 250, 300, like if you have a solid database, even of 200, and they're like, oh, I know everybody in there, then I'd probably start there. If I kind of have, if I'm not really sure, or I'm newer, or, you know, my database is smaller or whatever, then I might supplement with some lead gen just to get some leads in. But again, with the lead gen, what I see people do is they do something and then they stop, and then they do something and they stop. And so it creates this like inconsistent cycle, even if you're using lead gen that works, right? So basically, I put it this way: lead gen, or wait, follow up. If I was going to put it in order, so I'd go with follow up, like my database, and let me rekindle those relationships and service them, obviously, as awesome as possible, which really is just more follow up during the process, right? Things like that. And then maybe a little bit of lead gen. And if you just did those three, and I don't mean lead gen from like 5 places, you know, you could probably pick one to start with, but it has to give you the numbers that you need, right? So that's probably where the 3 things I would focus on. But notice I start with the follow-up. I start with my database and I start there, because what I want to do is create a habit. I want to create this as part of my system and process where I'm following up with people, I'm creating those relationships. And this is easy, guys. You may find, and I think this has actually been true for a lot of people, by starting in those steps, depending on the lifestyle they want. So if they want to grow, they still go to lead gen. But some people want to go from 10 listings to 20, or 10 to 15. It depends on your market, depends on how much you make. All these different things vary. But they just want to go from here to there. They're trying to find a way to do that. And a lot of times just having those connections, making those relationships in your database, get you where you wanted to go. And you don't ever have to get to lead gen. You know, you don't have to. There's plenty of people. And then Zillow and all this stuff, oh, they're doing this. It doesn't actually matter to you. If you have a strong enough database relationship, yeah, you'll have some churn, but it, for the most part, won't affect you at all. You know, so that's pretty much it. Like, it is easier than you think. And most of it's all up here in your mind, and making it way more complex and way more complicated than it needs to be. So into the link or the offer.
That was my question was, so
Yeah.
if agents don't know exactly, like, okay, I get it, I should follow up, but what do I do? What do I say? What step by step? What is that tie into that link that Sandra posted?
Yeah. So what I ended up doing was you know, as you know, we sell software and stuff, but honestly, what I'm doing is I guess, and so to speak, retiring from the software only industry, right? Because I saw no one was executing. They would buy the thing, they would buy the, how many of you guys have bought tools and have CRMs and have marketing tools sitting around not doing anything? And you're like, right? Yeah, we all do, right? And I was just like, okay, man, I'm done with this. Like, I'm tired of seeing people do stuff and not implement. And then on top of that, it ended up becoming my fault. So I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. So I changed it around. I created a couple programs, and you guys know, because I sold the software, I sell software. I still do here and there for pieces of it where that's really easy to get it up and running, like our follow-up ads. But the full thing, I was like, nobody runs this stuff unless someone takes them by the hand and freaking does it for them, or either takes them by the hand or show them exactly what to do or what order. So that's what I did. I created this process. I call it my follow-up blueprint. It's the specific steps in order how you would execute all this stuff. Then I pair that with like my team, who actually holds you accountable. They really work you through and push you through the entire thing. I have technicians who actually do the technical pieces of it for you. So it's kind of this whole cool program that I spun off my Done For You program. So I have a Done For You program. It's a little more inclusive, or like, not exclusive, just because I have a limited number of people. But because I had limitations there, and it was also a lot more expensive, that's why I came up with the hybrid program, which is what the link is to, where it kind of ties in. It gives you a little bit of both. You're not on your own at all. And you get some of the Done For You assets, but really what it is, it's our team taking you by the hand, taking you through setting up all the follow-up systems, how to have the conversations, how, like, literally every objection I've created this program to overcome when it comes to follow-up for everything. So I'm really excited about it. It's been really, really fun. And yeah, we've
It's awesome.
got spots open now.
So it's like a done with you, right? You have the done
Yeah,
for you.
exactly. Yeah.
You have the done for you. This is now done with you. For those people who still want to be hands-on, or maybe their budget or price point is for them just starting to build up. It's a
Right.
done with you, where you still get your hands dirty, but you hold their hand each step of the way.
Exactly. Exactly
Love it.
that. Exactly. So yeah, if any of this stuff resonates with you, whether you have things or you have maybe I gave you some clarity on something you're already doing, please go do that. Simplify things. All right. Again, this is a lazy way to selling more homes. Everyone in here is making it more complicated, I guarantee, than it needs to be. Not everyone, not everyone, not Jesse, of course. Right. But I know several of you are making it way more complicated. So with this program, there is an application. We don't accept everyone. So the idea of the application is just fill in the details honestly. You don't need, please don't elaborate. We want you, we want to put in your details. It's very simple. It takes probably 3 minutes, if that, to fill it out. I don't go into a whole detail. And then from there, you'll schedule an appointment. It might be with me. It might be with one of my team members. I kind of have a rotation. I do a few of them here and there. And from there, what we want to see is like looking at where you're at, like, okay, can we help you? Like, is there a significant thing? Like, can we help you more significantly to reach your goals? Or if not, if you're not quite ready for this yet, we can at least give you some direction on, hey, maybe try this or do this or start here, start there. We have some free resources as well. Maybe we can send you or whatnot after that call. But the point is like, we're looking for people that, again, because I'm done with the, I'm going to Dean Jackson route. So I'm choosing everything. And I'm like, I just want to work with people who are cool, who want to be successful, who are serious about being an agent and really serious and really like, if they like the messaging that I do and that I say, if they like that message, then I want to talk to them and I want to see if this is something we can help them with, so if you guys are there, like you need help, you need direction, you want someone to show you the way, and that follow up. I don't want to sell you on follow up. Like, dude, I need to do this better. I know I could sell more. I know I just need some help. I just need some handhold. I just need some direction. I just need some strategy. I want someone there that I can ask when I run into problems or questions or challenges. Then we'd love to talk to you.
And everyone watching knows they should be doing more. You want the people who are ready to like do a little more, right? But not more work to do less work.
Yeah,
do the smart work.
Yeah.
Do the smart work, right?
Yeah, and get things done, because that's one thing. This is huge. Is like, I've created this so that, I'll tell you, we actually did this, Jesse. This is kind of crazy, right? So we actually created a dashboard for our success team where we could see everyone in the hybrid program, and we can see if they've logged in, when, what they ate for breakfast. No, I'm just kidding about that part. But no, when they logged in, what's the last course that they're working on? Have they, so we can see like, oh, look at Susie's stuck, or Mary or John or whatever. And we can actually go and reach out to them and say, hey, notice you're here. It's been busy. And some of them are like, oh, I've been busy. I'll get back on it. But the point is, everybody's moving. It's at their own pace, but everyone's actually moving forward and actually using the freaking tools that they purchased, whether it be our tools or other tools. Usually we base off ours as like the core. And then sometimes it'll be like, yeah, I bought this thing for this and this and that. And it's like, dude, like you could totally be using that. We're going to show you how to integrate and use all that stuff with our tool. And it's just been really amazing. And people really love that.
It's that extra layer of support and accountability. Exactly. It's the combination of those, that because you already had the knowledge, you guys already had these systems, but it's actually helping people to implement them. That's the game changer for most agents. Exactly.
So very exciting stuff. So far, the results have been really great. And, I haven't really talked about this program here in LabCoat very often, but we did an event, I think a couple of weeks ago, and Tristan had come and spoke on a virtual event. And all in on follow up. And if you guys follow Tristan, he's all in on relationships and connections. So definitely.
This is great, Wesley.
All right.
Do you have anything else I mean, I'm thinking of this, this study. I don't know if we have time to talk about it. If you have anything else you want to add, you want to
No,
leave
go
here?
for it.
So have you heard of the change or die study?
No.
So this is really what fits in with this whole done for you thing that you put together, these resources. They took this group of people and they split them in half. And they said, all right, they all had some sort of medical issue that if they didn't make a change, they were literally going to die, right? Whether they were overweight, smoking, blood pressure, whatever it was, they had something medical, like you need to make these changes or you are going to potentially die. And they took this group, they split them in half. Half the group, they said, here's what you need to do, change X, Y, and Z. And they said, come back and let us know how you're doing. The other group, they gave coaching, accountability, and support and said, make the same changes.
Right.
Guess what happened to the group that was trying to do it on their own? That knew exactly what to do. What do you think happened?
Not much.
Nope. Like 1 in 10 when death was on the line. Okay.
Right. Wow.
And this is real estate where it's really not life or death, even if our clients make us feel like that. And the group that had the accountability, the support, given the same directions to make the same changes, they had a 7-time increase in actually making the changes and sticking with it.
Oh yeah. It's amazing.
70%.
Yeah, think about it, right? Sometimes you only do stuff because someone nags you about it, right? Yep. When is this going to get done? When are you going to do this? Okay, I'll do it, Yeah. And sometimes you do stuff more for others than you do for yourself. So some of it is just like, I have this with a dentist, right? And probably a lot of us like do the same. Like I hate flossing. I think a lot of us do. But the only reason I floss is because I don't want to show the dentist. I don't want to have that look like, and
do you cram floss?
Like not even knowing, like, you're going to get this and gingivitis, blah, 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 your teeth are going to fall out. I just don't want you to think badly of me.
Totally. And you cram it in like the week or the month before you go to the dentist. You see the appointment kind of like, oh, I better start flossing.
Flossing like crazy. Oh man, I should have took the 3-month break or whatever. Totally. That's funny. But it's kind of the same idea. And so we use that to help you, right? We use that to get our clients to move forward, because again, they're like, oh, they're calling. Oh, they text me. I don't want to say I didn't do it. So they'll actually go, even if it only took 10 minutes. That's the craziest thing. A lot of these things only take a few minutes. They'll literally go and do like, do it real fast. Be like, okay, I did it. Like, okay, boom. Like you moved forward, right? And that's all you need. It's awesome.
That's the 80-20 rule. You want to learn the 80-20 of real estate, click the link, check out the program. We're going to have a replay, Wesley, of this webinar up on the LCA YouTube channel. So they just dropped a link in the chat box. If you missed if you came in late, you missed part of the webinar, jump in there, take a listen. Any last thoughts you want to leave people with?
No, that's it, guys. I mean, I would love to work with you guys if you find a need or think this could be helpful for you, which I would imagine we should have about how many people in here? About 30 applications.
Yeah.
I think we'll have 2. But then again, it all comes into the same thing, right? People watch it. They'll be like, I'm going to try this. And that's great. If you can do it, more power to. If you have a way to do it, you have someone to hold you accountable, awesome. Until then, I'm just going to talk about the same thing over and over and over again until you're like, okay, I still haven't done it. And I remember him talking about this 3 months ago, so I'm going to do it now.
Well,
but until then, I'll deliver as much value as I can for everyone.
I love it. I say it's not exact. Every time I hear it, I learn something new. So it's not exactly the same because I always pull different nuggets out of it. So
yeah, exactly. I try and I move things around. There's different strategies from it and stuff, but for sure.
This is great. Thank you, Wesley. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the knowledge you share with LCA and our community. Guys, if you're watching on Facebook, drop a link, drop a question in the chat. Wesley is tagged there, so he will see the questions, and we will see you guys on the next one.
All right. Talk to you later. Have a good one.
Wesley. Bye, guys.